and girls, and welcome to online class of biology. You know, we have already completed your third chapter, that is human reproduction, and in today's class we are going to do a short recapitulation of the first two chapters which we have already completed. So the first chapter which we are going to revise is reproduction in organism. So let's start the revision. First, we must know that what is lifespan. Lifespan is the period from birth to the natural death of an organism. So you can say that when an organism it takes birth and it lives for a certain period of time and then dies eventually. So the time period till it was alive on earth is known as lifespan. So every organism has a certain amount of lifespan in average, and it differs from organism to organism. In this lifespan, the reproduction attains the capacity of giving birth of its own kind, and this process is known as reproduction. So reproduction is actually a biological process where an organism gives rise to a young ones which is similar to itself. And this process is very important to maintain its species generation after generation. That's why reproduction has its own importance, though it's not necessary for the survival. It is not written anywhere that if a organism is not able to reproduce, it may die. No, it is not like that. But still, it is important to maintain its survival, to maintain the survival strength of its species. Okay. Next, we know that reproduction is usually of two types, that is asexual reproduction and sexual reproduction. Asexual reproduction, as I have told earlier in your online class also, is the reproduction where A means no sex or no gametes are involved. So this is a single parent reproduction where only one parent is involved and the parent is known as the mother cell. The offspring formed from the mother is completely identical to its parent, and that's why it is also known as clone. The common asexual reproduction which is seen in organisms is usually the binary reproduction, or you can say the binary fission, where a single parent divides into equal half daughter cells. This is common in amoeba and paramecium. Apart from this, a budding is also seen in yeast. Here you can see this is a diagram which is representing the external bud formation, where a small bud grows on the surface of the mother cell and eventually it gets separated. So budding and binary fissions are some common reproduction process, asexual reproduction process, which are seen in organisms. But apart from that, there are other also, like the zoospore formation in Chlamydomonas, the conidia formation in Penicillium. Okay, then this external bud, as we have already discussed earlier, in Hydra, and this is gemule formation in the sponges. So this was all about the organism. But what about the plants? In plants also we can find asexual reproduction, but the asexual reproduction in case of plants is known as the vegetative propagation, because here a new organism is formed from the vegetative part of a plant, like root, leaves and stem. The eye of the potato is able to grow a new plant, and potato is a stem. So here the new plant is growing from a stem. Similarly, in case of Bryophyllum, these adventitious birds which are found on the leaf are able to give birth to a new plant or give rise to a new plant. So here these leaves, or you can say here the reproduction takes place through leaves. Similarly, there is rhizome of ginger, then there is offset of water hyacinth, etc. So here all the plants are growing from the vegetative part of the, or you can say the non-reproductive part of the plants, and thus it is known as the asexual reproduction or vegetative propagation found in plants. Next we have the sexual reproduction. We have already discussed about the sexual reproduction in details of human being in your third chapter, and about the plants we will just discuss in the second chapter. So here what you actually need to know is what is juvenile phase and the vegetative phase. So the juvenile phase in animals is the phase when only quantitative, or you can say the growth of animal takes place. Okay, where the animal or the organism is not able to reproduce or does not attain the capacity to reproduce. Similarly, in case of plants, this juvenile phase is known as the vegetative phase. So juvenile phase or vegetative phase is actually the non-reproductive phase in the lifespan of an organism. The next is, there are some cyclic events which occur in the life cycle of the females, which we have already studied in chapter 3, like the menstrual cycle. So the menstrual cycle usually occurs in primates, but the animals which are non-primate, which do not fall in the order primates, also a cycle occurs in them which is known as the estrous cycle. So the non-primate mammals, the females, they follow a cycle which is known as the estrous cycle, and the primate mammal females follow a cycle which is known as the menstrual cycle. Next is gametogenesis. Again, we have already studied about the human gametogenesis in chapter 3. Next is the gamete transfer. We have studied that in case of human beings, the gamete transfer is internal. As you know that the sperm is ejaculated in the female tract. In case of plants, the gamete transfer is done by the pollination, which we will study again shortly. Then is the embryogenesis process, the zygote formation, that is the post-fertilization events which we have already discussed. So this was all about your first chapter. In the next chapter, that is the sexual reproduction in flowering plants, we are going to actually study the process of sexual reproduction which occurs in the plants. So first, as you know that whenever we are studying about the reproduction process, the first thing we must know about the gametes, okay, the gametes which take part in the process. So in case of plants, the male gamete is known as the microsporangia, okay, and you know that stamen is the male gamete, okay. The flower is the reproductive part. Sorry, I skipped this part. So flower is the reproductive part where the male gamete is the stamen and female gamete is the pistil. So male gamete is also known as microsporangia, and if you see the structure, so you will see that the typical stamen contains an anther and a stalk which is known as the filament, and the male gamete, which is the microsporangia, is actually the pollen grain, and the microsporangia is present in the anther. If you see the detailed structure of the anther, you will find that anther is actually a tetrad, that is, it has 4 lobes which contains the pollen grains. The pollen grain is the male gamete. Apart from that, you can see that the anther has several layers in it, the epidermal layer, the endothecium layer, okay, the tapetum is the internal layer of the anther, and in these 4 lobes, these 4 chambers, there is a pollen grain, and pollen grain is the actual gamete which takes part in the fertilization process. Further, if you see the structure of the pollen grain, you will find that the pollen grain has a cell which divides to form 2 cells, which one is known as the vegetative cell and generative cell. So the generative cell is the cell which fuses with the female gamete and forms the zygote. Externally, the pollen has 2 layers, the exine and the intine. The exine is made up of the sporopollenin, and this sporopollenin is so strong and is so rigid that there is still no enzyme which can break this sporopollenin. This exine actually helps to form the pollen tube once they reach the stigma of a flower. Next, we need to see is the structure of the female gamete. The female gamete is found in the pistil region. If you see the structure of a pistil, you will find that there is 3 parts of the pistil: the stigma, style, and the ovary. Ovary is the region where the female gamete or the megasporangium is formed, which is the ovule. This is the detailed structure of the ovary. This is the embryo sac where the ovule is formed. This embryo sac is guarded by a funicle. This funicle is attached to the hilum, and then there is this micropylar open end. This micropylar pole, or you can say the micropylar end, is open and is not covered by this integumental layer. There are 2 integuments, the outer integument and the inner integument. Thus opposite to the micropylar end is the callosal pole. So this is the structure of the female ovary. Next, we need to know is about the cellular composition of a ovary. You can see that This cell, the female gametophyte, it divides continuously mitotically to form a 8-cell stage. Here you can see it has one cell which then divides into 2, 4, and then eventually they form a 8-cell stage. In this 8-cell stage, the 3 of the cell, they go to the callosal end and are known as the antipodals. The next 3 here go to the micropylar end. In these 3, 2 are the synergids and the third one is the egg, which is the actual female gametophyte which fuses with the male gamete. And in the center of the cell there are 2 polar nuclei. So you can see that these 8 cells, they arrange themselves inside the ovary. Okay, so this is the arrangement of the cells within the ovary. Once these things are formed, the male gamete and female gamete are formed, then it is the time to transfer the male gamete to the female gamete. In case of plants, the process by which the male gamete, that is the pollen grain, is transferred to the female gamete, that is to the ova, first it is transferred to the stigma, is known as pollination. So pollination is the process where the pollen grains are transferred from the anther of the flower to the stigma of the flower. There are different types of pollination. The first one is the autogamy. Here autogamy refers to the bisexual flower which contains both the female part and the male part. Here the pollen grains from the anther falls to the stigma of the same flower. Okay, so the flower is single. One flower, it contains both the pistil and the stamen. So the pollen from the anther of the same flower falls to the stigma of the same flower. This is known as autogamy. The next type is the gitogamy. Here the transfer of pollen grains from the anther of stamen falls to the stigma of the flower, which is a different flower but of the same plant. So mark one thing, that in gitonogamy the flower is different. That is, the flower which contains the anther and the flower which contains the pistil are different, but the plant is same. Last is the xenogamy. In case of xenogamy, the transfer of pollen grains from the anther to the stigma takes place in different plant but of same type. So here the flowers are also different and the plant is also different. That is, the anther is falling from one plant to the other plant. But mark one thing, the plant type should be same. That is, if the anther from a rose plant is coming, it should fall on the rose plant. Okay, then only it will work. So pollination is of 3 types: autogamy, gitonogamy and xenogamy. Next is the agents of pollination. You have already studied in your lower classes that there are mainly 3 agents of pollination, that is wind, water and animals, which carry this anther, or which carry this pollen grain with them and help to get it fallen on the stigma of the flower. The plants which are pollinated by the insects, they have flowers which have very bright colors, okay, which have very good amount of nectar, so that the insects get attracted to them. On the same way, we can see that the plants which are pollinated by the wind have a large amount of pollen grains, because the wind carries them and we don't know where the wind is going to carry with them. And also the flowers are small and the pollen grain is lightweight, so that they can be carried with the wind. So these are some characteristics which are found in the flowers as per their agents of pollination. Next, we must know the pollen pistil interaction. Though pollination is completely a random process which occurs by the agents, the wind, water or insects, but still there is an interaction between the pollen and the pistil. So whenever a pollen is falling on the pistil, there is a special unknown compatibility between 2 of them, and the pistil only accepts the pollen of its own kind, or which whom it is going to interact. Okay, otherwise if any other pollen falls on the pistil, it is not going to form the zygote afterwards. The sexual reproduction process will not complete. Only if the correct or the required pollen grains fall on the pistil, only then the zygote formation is. Next, when the pollen falls on the pistil, when the correct, or you can say the required pollen grain falls on it, they start forming a path to the ovary, and this path is known as the pollen tube, which forms from the exine of the pollen grain and they start forming it to reach the ovary. Okay, here you must know that there is another process which is found in the sexual reproduction, which is known as the artificial hybridization. What we were studying till now is the natural way in which the gametes grow and they pollinate and they form the zygote. But there is also artificial hybridization, where we know that the selective parents are allowed to cross. So for this selection, the female parent bears the bisexual flowers and the removal of anthers in them. So the anthers are removed so that they don't undergo self-pollination process. The removal of anthers from the flower is known as emasculation. Then after the anthers are removed, the flower is covered by a polythene or any other cover so that unwanted pollen grains do not fall on the stigma of the flower, and this process is known as bagging. After the emasculation and bagging is done, later the cover is taken out when the female part attains complete maturity and the selected, or you can say the desired pollen grain is dusted on the flower so that the pollination can take place and then later the fertilization process can take place. So here the process, or you can say the pollination process, is not taking place naturally but by our own desire, or you can say here artificially we are pollinating the plants as per our own requirements, and this process is known as artificial hybridization. Now once the male nucleus they reach the ovary, you must know that two male nucleus are released during the fertilization process. One of them they fuse with the, here it will be more clear if I show this picture. One of the male nucleus they fuse with the egg present over here, which is known as fertilization process, that is the fusion of male gamete with the female gamete. And the other male nuclei, it fuses with these two polar nucleus in the central cell. Since three cells are fusing here, this process is also known as triple fusion. Also, since two fertilization processes are occurring in the same place simultaneously, that's why the process of fertilization in plants is known as double fertilization process. I'm repeating again, the two male nucleus, when they reach the ovary, one of them they fuse with the egg, which is known as fertilization process. The second one fuses with these two polar nuclei, which is known as triple fusion, as three cells are fusing over here. Also, since two fertilization processes are occurring simultaneously in the same place, that's why it is known as double fertilization process. Once the double fertilization process occurs, the zygote is formed, which is quite obvious. After the formation of the zygote, the other parts of the flowers, or you can say the other parts of the ovary, they start degenerating, and then the endosperm, that is this embryo, the ovary, it develops into the region from where the nutrition is taken by the growing zygote, the growing embryo. Later the ovary is formed and grows into the fruit, while the zygote, which is formed, or the ovules, they after the fertilization they form the seed, and these seeds are capable of giving rise to a new plant. Here you can see the structure of different seeds which are found. Then here you can see the structure of the ovaries, the false fruits. Here this is the monocot seed. Okay, so this is the structure of the seed, the internal structure of the seed, which is formed after the fertilization process. These are the first fertilization events which takes place. So the ovary develops into the fruit and the ovules they develop into the seed. Last you should know is the apomixis and polyembryony. Apomixis is the special mechanism where the seeds are grown without fertilization. Till now you have already seen that the seeds are formed after the sexual reproduction process, which is found in the plants. So apomixis is a process where the seeds are formed without fertilization. Okay, it is found in the group of Asteraceae. Then the next is polyembryony. Polyembryony is a process where you will find more than one embryos. Okay, you can say the ovule contains more than one embryo. That this is known as polyembryony, which is found in many citrus fruits or citrus plants. So with this we finally finish the revision of the 2 chapters. I hope it is helpful for you to recapitulate the informations, to recapitulate the knowledge we have already discussed earlier. Thank you, students. Have a good day.